My name is Maria, and in this video, you're going to find out all the tips and tricks about. Hi, my name is Maria, and in this video, you're going to find out all the tricks and everything you need to know before your trip to Bali or Indonesia. This is the video that basically I wish I had when I went to Bali. So check it out. Okay, so I'm going to start with the basics. So first things first, no one told me that I actually had to drive a scooter in Indonesia. So whereas for Bali, in some parts of Bali, it's really easy for you to go with Grab or Gojek. These two apps are really important for you to have, so you can download it even before your trip. So the first one is Grab and the second one is Gojek, and they basically the same thing as Uber. So you order them either for a cab or for a scooter, and you basically, someone will drive the scooter and you're just going to be the passenger behind. But for a lot of places in Indonesia, like Lombok, Nusa Penida, and other places in Bali, Grab and Gojek, they don't work as well. And so I definitely recommend before you go to Indonesia, please learn how to drive a scooter, because I found it essential for me. So it was something that really and no one told me about, all my friends that have been there before. And I found it crucial actually, because I was with my friend for 2 weeks. But for my last week in Indonesia, so I had my travel were 3 weeks, and for 2 weeks I was with my friend who actually knew how to drive one. So we're always fine with him. I was always fine with him. But in my last week, I did struggle, and I spent a lot of money in cabs that I felt it was completely unnecessary. If I knew how to drive a scooter, so I would definitely recommend that. Would going to be my number one tip. Then, in relation to money, you always need to take physical cash to Indonesia. Ideally, you should take their money, which is the the Indonesian rupee. But if you don't have, or if you find yourself not with enough time to go and get the money from the bank, try to get some cash in any sort of coin. So if you have dollars or euros or whatever, just take those, because you can find money exchange places anywhere in Indonesia that will actually be way cheaper than the ones you get in the airport and even the ones you get here. So don't worry if you get dollars or if you got euros or any other coin and you didn't get the chance to swap, because you can definitely do it there. Another thing that I would definitely recommend is paying. So when you arrive at the airport, the first thing you have to do is get your visa. And so for the visa, I recommend paying in cash, because if you pay with card, there's an extra fee that they're going to charge you, absolutely unnecessary if you have cash with you. So keep your cash handy, not like me, that I had like a little bit of cash in my wallet, because I decided to take this stupid small wallet, and the rest of the cash was like in my luggage, like hidden in a pocket. And then when I actually got there and they told me, because the visa is like $30 translated in dollars, obviously in their coin and in their money, but in translated to dollars, $30. So you need a lot of notes, and I didn't have enough, so I had to sort of unpack my bag as soon as I arrived and try to find where the hell I've put that money. So don't do that. Keep the cash handy, because you know you're going to need it as soon as you arrive in the airport. Okay, moving forward, which bag did I took? I actually bought an Osprey, this one. This is the Osprey cabin size bag, which means this is suitable. This has the perfect size for you to take in upstairs in the plane. So you don't have to put it, you don't have to register it. It has the perfect size. It's like extendable. You can also buy like an extra bag and put it here. I find it very light. It has like a support cushion. This one especially is designed for women. So I did a little bit of research, and it's actually the only bag that is designed for female travelers, because it has like the perfect support for our ribs and for our curves. You know, women always have like the waist a little bit thinner, and so you can see it actually does that shape, and it follows the woman's body. So I definitely went with this one, and I loved it. And I use it in a very stupid way, so I was just, don't do that. So in case you have an off spray, like what I did was like I basically shoveled everything in the vertical, and only in my last day I actually thought, let me give it a try and pull it backwards. And it's just so much easier to pack everything like that. You can open the whole thing and pack it as you want and keep everything nice and tidy. So I definitely felt that it was a really good choice. It is light, it's very portable, it has loads of support for your back. So there's 3 ways of support: one for the lower back, another one for the upper back, and you have one for like your shoulders. So I definitely felt like this bag, I'm not kidding you, I actually weighed it in my way back, and with all the souvenirs and stuff, it was weighing 11 kilos. And I definitely didn't feel that I was carrying 11 kilos. So the whole purpose of the bag is putting the weight on your back so you won't feel it as much. And I definitely felt that it was really well supported. So I felt it was a good choice. Just leave it this here. I don't have any sponsorship. So if you have another bag and if it works for you, perfect. This bag was a good choice for me, so I would definitely recommend. Right, to the next thing. I saw a girl, so this was my first international trip abroad. I've been traveling a lot through Europe, but I never actually traveled to another continent. So I live in UK, and I made a trip all the way to Asia, and I never did such a big trip. So I'm not very organized, and I feel like you learn so much in all the hostels you actually sleep in, and with all those people that you met in the way. And one of the things I definitely learned was how to organize stuff in your journey. So I saw a lot of people with organizers that you can buy either in Shein or in Temu, and they were so handy. Whereas me, I just felt so stupid for keep looking for my sunscreen all over my bag, taking everything out, looking for my sunscreen because I knew it was somewhere there, or my wallet, or my, because I just shovel things and I don't really organize them in a specific way. But I definitely felt that in my next trip, I'm going to do it differently. So I saw a lot of girls that they had like, they bought in Shein or Temu, like I said, all this compartments. So they were like bags. There was one girl that had one really, really handy. So I definitely going to buy one of those that you basically just, you attach in your bed, and it has like loads of pockets, and it just like slides through. You open it, it slides through, and then it has like multiple pockets. And she had like all the hair bubbles and stuff in one, and then all the sunscreens in the other one, and all the documents in other one, and like with zip bags. And so it was just so handy and perfect. And every time she would leave the hostel, she would just roll it over, put it in the bag, and it was always perfectly organized. So I feel like all those organizers are really worth it if you go for a long trip. At some point, you will need some organization in your bag because you're gonna have clean clothes, you're gonna have dirty clothes, you're gonna have your sunscreen, you're gonna have your wallets, you're gonna have dirty socks, you're gonna have loads of stuff that you don't want to mix in your bag. And so having organizers, I felt it really helped. Plus, you can always take the vacuum bags as well if you want to create more space and take a little bit of weight, which I didn't, but it's an option and it's a possibility. Especially if you're going with just one bag. In my case, I took one bag and a trolley. And if I recommend to take a trolley, definitely no, to Indonesia and Bali. My main trip was in Bali. That's why I keep talking about Bali as that much. But I definitely won't recommend. So if you can take just the backpack or a backpack and another thing, like a bag that you could carry with your hands, but not a trolley, you could actually save so much in trips because from one place to another, you can rent a scooter, even if you don't drive. And so if you have a trolley, you definitely need a cab. There's no way they're going to let you carry a trolley in a scooter. It's really rare. And so definitely, you can save some cash. And if you want to drive one of your own, like I recommend, and rent one, you can definitely put a little back in the front, carrying your backpack, and drive the scooter, and you just save so much money again in traveling. Because obviously Indonesia is way cheaper than our Western prices, but I felt that where I spent most of my money was on traveling. So it was all of those cabs that I took from one place to another, because I obviously went from South Bali, and then I visited the center, I visited the north, and then I went again back down, and then I went to Nusa and then Lombok, and then on Lombok again I went north, center, down. And I just felt like, obviously, because they're big islands actually, and those two specifically, Bali and Lombok are the biggest ones. And so I definitely spent that. I spent a lot of money traveling that I felt if I had a scooter, I wouldn't have to spend that much. Okay, so next thing was gonna be the hostels. So if you're traveling on your own, or if you're traveling with a friend but you're not a couple, obviously if you're going as a couple, you probably get it cheaper if you rent a double room and split the money. But if you're going with a friend, then you're gonna go for a hostel. There are great hostels in Indonesia and Bali, and it's definitely a great way to meet people and to share your journey with other people. And there's so much you can learn from them. It's incredible. I love the experience of staying in hostels. And everywhere I went, I would meet different people, different nationalities, and they would advise me like places to go, places to eat. And so definitely engage. And if you have to go for a hostel, either by choice or because you have to, take advantage of the hostel and engage, like really engage with people and take it as an opportunity, definitely. And so my next thing that I will mention on first things is, with the hostels as well, I felt that I didn't have, and sometimes I didn't have great experiences. And so I had to actually leave the hostel at that night because I wanted to, and move to another one because just the conditions weren't the best, which is something that you can find in hostels in Asia. Obviously, there's great places, great resorts, great 5 stars hotels. But if you're going for hostels and if you're on a budget trip like I was, you might find yourself renting a place which is actually disgusting or not clean or has bugs in the bed, some nasty stuff going on. So I actually had to leave. And what I found out on Booking is the places, when I found the hack to actually find really good hostels. And the hack for me was finding a place with, so you have to go for a place with more than 8.5, in a scale of 1 to 10. The level of review has to be 8.5 above. So you can't go, don't go anywhere 8.5 below. So that was my sweet spot. That was actually what saved my trip from being a disgraceful trip. Actually, you're so tired, you walk so much, explored so much, because that was the type of trip I had. I went and explored the island. I really dwelled in all those activities. I went on hiking, on trails. Then you get all dirty and you come to your hostel. You just want a clean bed and a clean shower. For me, that's the minimum acceptable, you know? And you don't get that, and that really can ruin the whole thing because you just feel disgusted, you feel you can't shower, you don't feel comfortable sleeping in that bed, and it's just ruined everything. So for me, the sweet spot was really to find the places that with 8.5 plus on reviews would give me, I was actually able to find really nice hotels, still cheap, but I had really nice experiences in those hostels, and they definitely met my basic criteria. They were clean, the beds were comfortable, and it was chill, nice environment. In the comments below, I can definitely leave some of my favorite hostels. I won't leave the nasty ones, but I can definitely recommend the ones that I've absolutely loved, because there's so much choice when it comes to Bali and Asia, because they live on tourist money. And so everywhere you can find a hostel or a homestay, because basically everyone lives on tourists' money. And so there's so much places to choose from that sometimes you just don't know which one to pick. Okay, so these are like my first things first before the travel. And obviously, we went through a little bit with the visa and the hostels as well. How did I actually plan my trips? So I've used Google Docs to document everything I wanted to do. Google Docs is actually very useful because you can edit it. So you can go and edit, and then if you're going with a friend like me, I sent the document to my friend, and as I was editing, he would actually saw the document edited as well in his phone. So it was very handy because anytime we would change plans, I would just add it on. I would change times. I would change some little things, and he would see in his phone the new addresses, the new places we were going to see, the changes I've done in the minute. So I found it very, very useful. In terms of content, how I actually design the itinerary, I've done a mix of online itineraries and stuff that people had already created and was on Google available. And I also went on ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to design me itinerary with the main attraction points and things worth to see in Indonesia for a 3-week trip. And I was actually really surprised with the quality of the itinerary that ChatGPT gave me. So I obviously used both because sometimes I didn't want to spend. So ChatGPT, obviously, they gave me the itinerary for 3 weeks. But let's say, for example, ChatGPT gave me 5 days in Ubud, and I only wanted to spend 3 days in Ubud. So I was trying to shorten it down, and I used multiple sources of information, and I came out with my own itinerary. But I did find it useful to still have it saved on your phone while you're doing the trip in case something goes wrong and you can't do what you have planned. So you always have it handy to check what other people have done instead of the activity you chose. And you don't feel like you got stranded or now you don't know what to do, because sometimes things go wrong. In your trip, you're going to find out that there's always something that doesn't go according with a plan, no matter how well you plan it or how well you design it. There's always something that doesn't go with a plan, and that's okay and that's normal. You just need a plan B or a backup plan. What else do I want to mention in the beginning? When you get to the airport, so I've mentioned the visa that you should try to pay in cash. So you can, if you're on a budget trip, you can try to save some money paying. Actually, when you pay in card in Indonesia, the majority of places is going to charge you 3%, just because you're paying cards. Some expensive places, they don't charge you nothing else. So it's the same amount. But in Indonesia, you definitely need cash. When you're taking on a cab, first thing, Grab and Gojek, obviously they're like the Uber apps, the traveling apps, but they don't have any online method of paying. So every single one of them is cash. So you can order it online like you do in an Uber, but the money doesn't go off your account. You still have to pay cash. So it's very handy to have the money on hand, otherwise you can't just travel anywhere. And also it's very useful when it comes to bargains, because you bargain easily when you have cash. Then if you're going to pay card, they're not going to let you bargain. Another major shock that I had when I came to Indonesia, because even though for the first 2 weeks I was traveling with my friends and I planned the whole trip, we traveled through different airlines and on different days. So we arrived there. So I've done all the trip on my own, and he's done all the trip on his own. And when I got there, and I've heard it's the same in Thailand and Vietnam and a lot of these Asian countries, it's just you get when you arrive at the airport and you're actually leaving, you get flooded with taxi drivers, and it's so overwhelming. It's really, really overwhelming. You're just doing a simple thing, like in Europe, everywhere, you're just walking out at the airport. It just looks like a simple thing. There's no big deal about it. But when it comes to Asia, the simple thing of actually walking out of the airport, it's way more complicated than what it seems, because you get flooded with taxi drivers. And when I say flooded, I'm not overreacting. It's horrible. It's actually terrible. They almost get you immobilized, so you can almost not move. And all of them, they're literally on top of you. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Come with me. Come with me. How much? How much? How much? How much are you willing to pay? And so what I've done, I haven't heard nothing like this online. That's why one of the reasons I'm making this video is because I feel there's definitely not enough information. So if I was doing it again, I would definitely try to get my Grab or Gojek while I was still inside the airport. So I wouldn't doing while I was outside, because you're trying to see the price online so you can bargain with these people, because they're going to shout out stupid prices because you're a tourist. They won't get money out of you. Especially, I'm a girl and I'm alone. So if you're a female solo traveler, you're definitely going to get even more heated and even more scammed than men or groups. They're just trying to get money out of you. And especially if you're traveling alone, they think you're loaded. So don't go. One bargaining tip, and I think the only tip you need for bargaining is everything they say, cut half. So if they ask you 500,000, say 250, and then work from there. Never meet their criteria and never say yes, because usually they are they're increasing the prices like hell because you're a tourist. And don't feel bad for cutting it in half, because I'm pretty sure half, it's still a really good lucrative place for them. And me, I felt like I was probably more flooded than tourists that go in high season, because I went in March. We're still in March, so I'm recording it in the same month so I won't forget anything. But I definitely felt that because it's low season. So in Bali, in Indonesia, between November and March, it's the low season for them because it's the rain season. And so, because I still went on the last month of the rain season, there's less tourists. Because there's less tourists, there's less money circulating around. So they want money. So they are trying to get as much money out of you as possible, because they don't get as much money as in the high season. There's not as many tourists going around. I definitely didn't feel that a lot of times, but it's still low season for them. So that was an experience, getting out of the airport and trying to get a Grab. And what I did is I did that after I left the airport. After somehow I managed to escape, and I just carry on walking. And I said, I have a taxi already. I don't need, because I already booked. I didn't. So I just wanted to find like a little corner and a little empty space where I can go and check Grab and Gojek and see which one has a better price. So always check both, because even though they're both, it's like Bolt and Uber, sometimes the price differs. So it's always worth to check both when you're going somewhere. And when I checked the price, somehow a taxi driver managed to follow me and found me in this corner. And I was right. So I managed to do what I wanted to do, which was basically putting my final destination. I checked the price, and he was like, and the price was like 256 or something. And he was asking me, no, I'll take you for 500. And I said, this is the price on the app. And he was like, okay, for you 400. I said, this is the price on the app. If you do me this price, I'll go with you. If it's not that price, I'll book in the app. And so he was like, yeah, fine, okay, I'll do that price immediately. But you have to be firm. So in Indonesia, to bargain or to cross the road, you have to be firm. Because if they feel like, and I felt that when I met this girl in the hostel in my last week, so when I was alone, and we traveled for 1 day or 2 days together. And she was very young as well, but she was very soft spoken and not very strong willed. So they always get more money out of her than get it from me. And I was feeling really bad because she was definitely getting scammed. But she couldn't be assertive, and she couldn't like make her point and be firm in what she's saying. And I was saying, no, look, I ain't gonna get you that money. Doesn't matter, you keep trying. I just won't pay that price. And so she was always paying way more than me for everything, for a coconut, for whatever I was buying, and she was buying as well. They were always getting more money out of her because she couldn't say no. And so this is an important bit. Be assertive and like strong-willed when you say no. And sometimes I had to say, no, I don't want it then, bye. And I literally left. And then they say, okay, I'll do that price. And sometimes, even when you don't know what's going on, just be really strong in your convictions and don't do what they say. Okay, don't follow. When it comes to money, they are used to do it. They do it every day. And in Indonesia, even if you have money and if you're willing to pay, I don't know what price for whatever you want, it's a cultural thing to bargain. So you need to know how to bargain, even if you don't want to bargain that much because you feel the price is fair enough. You need to know how to bargain because it's offensive for them if you don't bargain. They look at you like, I've seen that with my own eyes. They look at you like, if they say a price and you say fine, they look at you like, it's very awkward because don't forget that you are going to a different country, but you're taking on a different culture and you should embrace their culture. And we're going to talk a little bit about that further ahead, like how can you embrace their culture and respect their culture and their values and be a traveler, but still being mindful that you're in a different country, there's different rules, there's different cards we're playing here. More. So just another thing that I want to make in this prep introductory video is the SIM card. So once you arrive at the airport, two things you have to do. The first one is get a SIM card. The second one is obviously get a cab and or cash or wherever you need to get around, and your visa. So for the SIM card, I got advice of getting my SIM card from the airport because as soon as you leave the airport, you get your SIM card ready. But if you have the time, if you're doing a long trip, you have the time, you're on a budget trip, you can leave the airport, you can walk a couple of, not far, and you can find corner shops where they're actually going to sell you the SIM cards way cheaper. And another way to get it cheaper is when you're actually inside the airport, because I panic a little bit with my data and with my phone. So I knew it was going to be cheaper if I walked out of the airport. But I arrived at night. I didn't want to, all of my luggage going around looking for a SIM card. It seemed not necessary for me. So I wanted to get it inside of the airport, even though I knew it was going to be a little bit more expensive. But so another trick I have is don't get a SIM card in the first place you see. So that's exactly what I did. I left the airport. I was so panicking because, oh my God, I don't have internet. Oh my God, I don't have connection. Which I probably had the free Wi-Fi from the airport, but sometimes I just panic about data and stuff like that. So then I literally walk out, I picked my bags, and I went straight to the first place they were selling SIM cards. And there's loads of places, and they're all like flashing and people like with flyers and everything to buy my SIM card from me, and loads of different offers everywhere. But I actually went straight to the first place I saw, and that was a mistake. Definitely a mistake because it was way more expensive than other places in the airport. So you can actually have SIM cards all over the airport. It's not just the first ones you see, the only ones you're gonna find. No, there's SIM cards everywhere in the airport, selling SIM cards all over the place. And so you just walk out with your bags and do not go for the first places you see that are actually selling SIM cards. Just go straight, and you're gonna find in your journey till the end to immigration, you're going to find loads of more places selling the SIM cards at way cheaper. So don't go for the first ones, just carry on, because later in the end, you're going to find cheaper stands that they're going to sell you the same SIM card way, way, way cheaper. And it wasn't obviously their money, it's way cheaper, but when you need to make the conversion. So what I did was I figured out how much was the pink note, so their biggest note, the 100,000 rupiah, and the 50,000 notes. So it's the pink note, it's the biggest one. Then you have the blue note, which so the two biggest notes for them. And I figured out that the pink note was £4. So in pounds, because I'm in the UK, it wasn't near £5, but it wasn't £5. And so the second biggest of the notes, it was almost £3. I was always making that math, but for that SIM card that I paid in the first place I've seen, I paid, I think, £20 in pounds, obviously in their coin, but translated in pounds. So it's useful to know how much money you're giving, so you can make the math on how much money you're spending. Because sometimes we just think everything is expensive, everything is very cheap, everything is very cheap. Well, actually, there's stuff that you'd pay cheaper in your country. So just bear in mind, because some of the things are not going to be, especially in Ubud, Canggu, these very touristic places, you're going to find really expensive stuff. So just be in mind, be careful about how much money are they actually asking you. Make the math in your head so you know how much the notes are worth. So if it's 350 or 250, make the math and actually how much money are they asking me, and be mindful of the amount of money you're spending. Because I've seen in Ubud shorts, like simple basic shorts, the translation to pounds or £50 for shorts in Bali, so which is ridiculous. And so I'm telling you, making the conversion in your mind helps, because sometimes people don't do it. Some people don't even look at the tags. They just assume that it's going to be cheap, and then they tap their cards, and actually it's way more expensive than what you're thinking. That this is for restaurants and for anything you can possibly think. So just a sort of awareness note in terms of money, especially if you're on a budget trip. Okay, so this is the end of the first introductory video, arrival to Bali. So my airport was Denpasar Airport, and this is the first video I'm going to do. Now I'm going to do a series of videos of what I've done throughout the days in Bali, Nusa Penida and Lombok. Stay tuned.